Hi, everyone. My name is Tony Tomarchio, and Eighth Wall, as a company, we've been around for about a year and a half. And our goal is to make it as easy as possible to develop AR applications. But on top of that, we want to make it accessible on basically every device. Some of the challenges that developers face today is there's a lot more that goes into an AR application than just kind of your game logic. You're interacting with the world. How do you scale objects correctly? What are user interfaces? What does a menu look like in AR? How do you interact with objects? Ideally, you want to be able to just grab it and move it. Is it swipe gestures? What does that look like? A lot of apps that you've probably seen today have taken their traditional application and added some AR views, which aren't necessarily connected with the main kind of gameplay or app focus. So what we've done here at Eighth Wall is we've made this extremely easy. For those of you who aren't experienced developers, this can be as simple as dragging and dropping scripts onto game objects. We've integrated this with Unity. So Eighth Wall XR is our development platform. Makes it easy to create mobile AR experiences. Write it once, and it'll run on both iOS and Android devices simultaneously. And it'll work on all of those devices, not just the limited subset that support ARKit and ARCore. So again, you write it once, you take a look at the devices that are out there today. Certainly the number of ARKit and ARCore devices will grow over time. But if you look at the state of the environment here today, it's probably about 80% of phones that don't support that right now. So Eighth Wall makes AR accessible to all these different devices here. So instead of having access to only creating an app and it'll work on a couple 100 million devices, with Eighth Wall now you have the reach to run this on about 3 billion phones that are out there. It's extremely simple. Again, runs on all mobile devices, and this is a self-service offering. You can go to our website. It is free to use, either in personal apps or in commercial apps here today. No watermarks or anything like that. And then we also do have the ability to provide native integrations for enterprise customers here. We have a lot of exciting things coming on the roadmap here, but we've got a lot of content to go through here, so I'm going to take you through kind of what we're doing here. So we have the overall Eighth Wall XR platform is comprised of mobile SDKs and frameworks. So as I mentioned before, we've integrated this with Unity. We have our own computer vision stack. So we play nicely with ARKit and ARCore and actually use those if and when they exist on your device. But we have our own SLAM tracking system for all the other devices out there. We also have a cloud developer console where you can look at the app analytics and things like that and see where your apps are being used and what AR engines are being used in these apps and things like that. Oops. Did we lose the? Oh, here we go. OK, we're back. Let me go back here. OK, well, the slide that we skipped, it, of course, provides 6-DoF tracking, so you can interact with the world and move around. Does lighting estimation, ambient light intensity, temperature, and even shadow alignment from GPS. You're outside. You want your shadows to align with the shadows in the real world. I don't know why it's skipping twice. We do surface estimation. This supports ARKit 1.5 and the new vertical surface features, things like that, as well as image detection. So here we have this little video where I'm taking one phone and we're pointing it at the image of this rocket, and when that's detected, it'll spawn a rocket in space and it launches here. Next slide, please. It's not working. OK, world point and hit tests. You can identify where points are and how far things are away from you. Can you go back one slide, please? OK. We also have Eighth Wall XR Remote. So if you've tried to develop an app, you write your code, you have to compile it, you load it onto your device, you test it out. And that can take minutes. If you're changing one small variable, a little bit, a few lines in your scripts, it can take a long time to iterate this entire process. So we've created our own AR remote that streams camera data, environmental data, touch input, all of this, the sensing data that we're collecting from the world, and it streams it back to Unity. Now, it's similar to the Unity remote, but this also supports Wi-Fi connectivity as well. So this is extremely useful because when you're creating an AR app and you're testing this AR app, you're going to be moving around the world. So you don't want to be tethered to a USB cable here. So you've got a Wi-Fi connection. You can interact and preview this live right in the Unity editor. Next slide. Again, I mentioned we want to make this available to everybody. So for those of you who aren't experienced developers here, we've provided a number of what we call convenience controllers, things like our camera controller, or light controller, surface controller, video controller, video texture controller. What these allow you to do is take these predefined scripts that are part of our Unity package, drag them onto game objects. I've got a demo that I'll show you how you actually create an application in a matter of 4 or 5 minutes. You drag these components onto your different game objects. When you build it, you'll have 6DoF tracking, lighting estimation, surface estimation, AR video background. You can do live video textures on game objects and things like that. If you go to the URL here at the bottom of the screen, you can get more information on the different controllers and what they do. Next slide, please. But if you're an advanced developer, sure, you might want to use those controllers as well. But you have direct access to the lower level APIs if you want to create your own controller-like functionality. You can access APIs for 6DoF camera tracking, surface and light estimation. You can query to see what devices or what capabilities are available on a given device. Does it have ARKit or not? The state of the tracking, image detection capabilities, world points, and hit tests. So we've got a kind of a sampling of some of these classes that you can access. But for more information, take a look at docs.athwall.com/API overview. So now we're going to jump into a couple of demos here and show you actually how you create a base application here. Yeah. Next slide. OK, so here I've got a pretty standard Unity scene. I've got a main camera. I've got my directional light. And I have this Velociraptor, which I got from the asset store here. He's got a couple of scripts, so you can he animates, you can drag him around, and you put it into play mode. And this is just your standard Unity application, nothing too exciting at this point. So what we're going to do is switch here. We're going to add Eighth-Wall. So you simply go to our website, and if you don't have one, create a free account. You go to console.eighthwall.com. You can access downloads. You can manage your application keys, your teams. You can have users and permissions, quick start guides, and all of that. So simply download our Unity package and go ahead and add it to your Unity project. It's going to import all the different assets. You're going to click the import button here. And once that's done, you're going to see an XR directory under assets. And this is where you can access the various scripts that we provide. We've got some materials, shaders, textures, things like that, that all go into creating your AR application here. So see, that's finished here. Got my XR directory. And underneath that, you can go here. OK, so also you can go to console.eighthwall.com, create an app key specific for your application. You load it in there, and you're good to go. So we've got materials, we've got scripts, shaders, and those types of things. So for example, the XR camera controller is going to give you the 6DoF camera motion. Simply drag that onto your main camera. Similarly, for the light controller, you're going to drag that onto your directional light. Surface controller, you kind of get the idea here. So in the next part of the demo, we're going to show you how you attach these to your game objects. But first things first, you're going to create an XR controller. So this is the main prefab, main game object that you're going to add. And from here, you can control what functionality is enabled or disabled. So do I want to enable the remote? Do I want lighting or camera or surfaces on or off, vertical surfaces? Maybe you want horizontal surfaces but not vertical. So you can control that type of thing. So simply on the main camera, you're going to drag the XR camera controller. That gives you the 6DoF camera tracking. And you're going to drag the XR video controller. That gives you the AR video backdrop here. And that's all you have to do to your main camera. Next, you're going to select your directional light and drag the XR light controller. So as the brightness in the room changes, it'll adjust the lighting in the scene accordingly. Now, we want this Velociraptor to be placed on surfaces. So what we do here is I'm actually going to create a 3D plane. So this is going to be simulated like my ground. And you'll see here we're renaming it to ground. We're going to reset it to the origin. So resetting the position here. OK, so we've got this ground object. We have our Velociraptor. but nothing's attached yet. So we're going to take the XR surface controller and drag it onto that plane. And you've got options. Do you want it to deform? So we can do deformable meshes. Do you want it to display immediately? So you kind of get past the ARCore, ARKit waving back and forth. If you want it placed immediately, you can select that box. It'll be placed in your scene relative to the camera position, and then it'll adjust as needed if there's a surface detected. Do you want ground only or any surface? And do you want to lock? And then next, I don't want it to appear white, so I'm going to take the XR transparent surface, drag it onto that game object, and now it will appear as transparent, and it will receive shadows to make it look more realistic. After that, we're going to take the Velociraptor and make it a child of the ground game object. So now when I run this, it will, when it detects a surface, it'll place that ground game object on that surface. It'll deform the mesh to the shape of that surface, and the Velociraptor will be on there. OK, so now if I go ahead and hit play, I do have enable remote selected. So it's going to sit here, and it's going to wait for, it says, OK, great, you want to preview this? We'll now just simply open up the XR remote application on your device. And actually, you can go to the next slide. The next video is using XR remote. OK. So here, I hit play, and over on the right, I've got a video capture of what's happening on the device. On the left, you can see what's happening in Unity. And you can see I hit play. I can see the camera's moving. I can move this around and interact with this in real time, preview this, and see how things are going to behave. And I've just eliminated that whole waiting for it to compile, and install on my device, then test it on the device, and then go back and make changes. So you can even change things, of course, in the Unity editor and play mode, see kind of what values you want to do if you want to scale things or move things, and go from there. OK, next slide, please. So again, just to recap what we've covered here, and if you want to see additional demos, we're going to be on the Expo floor, booth 1042. Happy to answer any additional questions you have at the booth. So again, ARCore XR, cross-platform, SDK integrates with Unity, makes it extremely easy to create AR apps once and have them run on all devices. Increases your reach to over 3 billion mobile phones out there. And it's a self-service offering. You can download this for free on our website, use this in either personal or commercial applications, put them up in the App Store, get people using them. And we'll be adding a lot of exciting new features and services on top of it in the future. So with that, thank you very much for your time.